Good morning. This is Madhurima from India. I am a senior development planner and a research scholar at the Terry School of Advanced Studies in New Delhi. And I'm here to give my presentation of the paper titled Inclusive Cities Decision Matrix for Culturally Responsive Smart Cities. The background of the paper is that I argue that the contemporary planning tools for Indian cities, or for that matter, cities across the world, need to be multidisciplinary and flexible so that they can respond to the complexities and the unique needs of the different contexts that we deal with. Now, the ideologies of smart cities and inclusiveness are interlinked. But these concepts are not only fuzzy, not only non-figurative, but they are complex. And we normally say that they get disconnected at the stage of implementation. Hence, it is necessary to align them. And if you look at the context of inclusiveness, the concept is more of an aspiration even today than an action. Hence, it is important to convert the concept into solid and transformative actions. In order to do that, we need various planning tools, assessment tools, which we lack. So this study has basically tried to develop an inclusive cities decision matrix based on a grounded theory approach and using complex mixed methods. The application of this matrix on a group of case studies in India suggests that a multidimensional and inclusive approach to city planning can play a vital role in building culturally responsive smart cities. This slide gives us the idea about mainly the 3 steps of the methodology that was adopted in the development of the framework as well as its application. Stage 1 is primarily about the framework development. Stage 2 is about a quantitative data-based study conducted on a group of smart cities in India. And stage 3 is about a further investigation into one particular city using qualitative and quantitative data analysis. In the stage 1, the framework development initially started with a review of established theories and frameworks and other literature revolving around the main questions of this study. Based on a draft that was prepared for the framework, based on this literature review, it was taken through the experts for their inputs and their review, national as well as international experts and peer reviewers. And the final framework basically took shape into identification of the key dimensions of the inclusive city decision matrix, the economic, social, and spatial dimensions, followed by a set of contributory factors, rather 13 contributory factors, and the key barriers that we encounter when we try to implement inclusiveness projects. The last part of the framework is basically the indicators, which are of quantitative nature as well as qualitative nature. Now here comes the flexibility of the framework in terms of the context. So the indicators can be framed based on the changing contexts. As well as there is this flexibility element in terms of the scale of the study. So this could be applied at the scale of a group or at the scale of the city. The second step is about testing the framework by applying it to a set of cities. So 21 smart cities were selected for this stage based on a certain criteria about the kind of investments being made in those cities, the population size, presence of the cities in the list of the Smart City Mission of India, as well as almost 50% of these cities are part of, have taken initiatives like formation of ward committees under the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act of India quite early in the process. Data against 36 indicators was collected as part of the study from not only the government sources but also the other authentic sources. And the data was not uniform, hence it was normalized using the feature scaling method. And this normalized data actually gave result to the scoring for each city. And the scoring allowed us to do the ranking of the cities, as well as different kinds of inferences were drawn based on the pattern analysis, based on the rank of the city that was particularly looked into. Next few slides are about the findings of at this stage, where we do find that the first 5 cities in the list are a mix of small, medium, and large cities. Rather, the first city, which is Kochi, is a small city, followed by 3 large cities, and Nagpur, which is one of the mid-sized cities. The scoring pattern gives us lots of insights broadly, but it tells us that the smart cities show a wide range of scoring variation, as well as ranking potential. The medium-sized cities seem to be predominantly lacking on the economic dimension, and the large-sized cities have a low score on the social dimension. And compared to the kind of opportunities that the large cities have, it does not show a very, very high economic dimension score too. Coming down to the specific findings for the cluster of small, medium, and large cities, we have identified, we could infer a lot of aspects. Some of them have been included in this presentation. Like, for example, the small cities have a range which is basically ranging from a very low to a quite high in all 3 dimensions. And the large cities demonstrate a good score on the spatial dimension, a low to good score on the economic dimension, and a low score on the social dimension. So we find a very wide gap in the scoring on the social dimension, and the economic or spatial dimensions indicate that there is a presence of high inequality in the large cities. Similarly, the mid-sized cities give us a lot of the findings about the mid-sized cities give us a lot of insights on their issues on inclusiveness. We have been able to identify the imbalances and inequalities on specific indicators using the framework. The multidimensional inequalities are indicated through the K-means cluster that was attempted as an explorative tool or technique on each individual dimension, as well as on total inclusiveness. The third stage was about applying the framework to a single city, which was selected as a mid-sized city centrally located in India called Nagpur was selected for this process through a standard sampling method. And basically, stakeholder groups were identified within the city, which became the main unit of assessment in the entire process. Again, we found interesting insights using the analysis, from the analysis using the framework. And Nagpur, as we know, that it is ranking 5th in the list of 21 cities that we had selected in the second stage. And if we try to compare the qualitative and the quantitative scoring based results, we find that they are quite comparable. However, we do get newer insights on the from the qualitative assessment. And the quantitative and the qualitative together give us a precise picture of inclusiveness in the city. Apart from that, this diversity, stakeholder diversity based assessment that we had performed gave us various insights in terms of the differences in the perceptions between the, basically between the groups which form the groups which actually represent the government of the city, as well as and the groups which represent the governed population of the city. There were differences found on the element of age also between the youth representatives and the political stakeholders. Similar differences were identified at the spatial level. So we do have spatial inequalities in Nagpur on three major factors of inclusiveness. So overall, there is an existence of a gap between the stakeholders perception, and there is existence of a gap between the vision of the government for development for the city and the needs and aspirations of the people. And we have to deal with multidimensional inequalities in case of Nagpur. So conclusively, we could say that from the analysis, we can say that, of course, the cities need to grow and then they need to compete, which is natural. But they need to adopt an inclusive urbanization process, which is in order to build culturally responsive smart cities. And the inclusive cities decision matrix is an effective tool to identify the multidimensional imbalances and inequalities in the cities, and also to help us identify the relative position of the particular city amongst its peers. We do find that both the qualitative and quantitative approaches are helpful in giving us the big picture, which is necessary to understand our position in that picture, as well as the answers to questions like how and why. A qualitative assessment is critical to identify specific issues, particular barriers, so that we can have a clear way forward in terms of improving inclusiveness in the context. And of course, we do also understand, based on the research on the work done on the subject of inclusiveness till now, especially at the scale of the cities, that more research of similar nature is required, so that we can build an evidence at a scale to inform policy and generate collective action. And on a lighter vein, so that we can win the debate between the popular growth first models and the less popular inclusive urbanization models. Yeah, so basically that's the end of my presentation, and thank you all for patiently listening to my presentation, and I would be happy to take any questions that you might have. Thank you.